Nick Roush and Adam Luckett happy to be joined by veteran NFL quarterback, former NC State Wolfpacker, Mike Glennon. Mike, I know you're here to talk about another former NC State quarterback, but I wanted to ask you a question that I like to ask all quarterbacks because I admittedly, I don't. I like to pretend I know, but I don't know what I should be looking at when I pop on the tape and I'm staring at a quarterback. I'm trying to see, is this guy good or not. So if you're at the local high school game or somebody says, hey, why don't you take a look at this quarterback for me? What's the kind of first thing you're looking at when you're trying to evaluate a rising quarterback in the game?
That's a really good question, actually. And when you're around it enough, you kind of, when you see someone, you know what it looks like. And so the first thing I would say is like how the ball jumps off someone's hand. And I know we're going to get to it in a little bit, but when I think of the ball jumping off of someone's hand, Devin Leary comes to mind. So that'd be one of the first things is like, does it just look like it comes off his hand the right way? The next thing would be accuracy. Does he have good ball placement? Is he able to put it in a small window exactly where it's 1 foot in front of the numbers, and then the receiver can go get some yak after the play? The next thing I would look at is how does this guy process information? Does he get through his reads quickly? And then the last thing, and some people probably have it higher, but since I was not the most athletic guy, I would look to see how athletic he was and how he moves around in the pocket. So those would be kind of the four things. Probably, in that order. I mean, the processing information is harder to tell at first glance, but that's arguably, as important as anything I just said.
Well, we did want to have you on to ask about Devin Leary because I'm sure you were paying close attention when he was tearing it up at NC State. Uh, what are Kentucky fans? I know we've kind of talked ad nauseum about it, but you have a little bit different perspective on what exactly they're going to get when he takes snaps for Liam Cohen this fall.
Yeah, so I know Devin pretty well. I mean, I've lived in Raleigh my whole playing career, so I used to go work out at the facility all the time, and I would throw with Devin. And I said this last year when I started kind of getting into a little bit of this media stuff, and I still stand by what I said. Is NC State has had some really good quarterbacks come through that program. There's been Philip Rivers, there's been Russell Wilson, there's myself, Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Finley, and I'm not sure the ball jumps off a guy's hand better than Devin Leary. I mean, the guy has an absolute hose. And I know Kentucky fans are used to having Will Levis. I've never seen Will throw in person. I know he's known to have a strong arm as well, but I've seen all those guys throw in person. Was teammates with Russell Wilson, saw Philip Rivers firsthand, seen Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Finley, all those guys, and Devin has the ball just jumps off his hand. The rotation, the spin, the tight spiral. That's the strength of his game is how well he can throw the football.
Mike, Devin's making a transition into kind of a more pro style offense. It's going to be maybe something he'll see in the NFL. What do you think for him is the biggest thing he's going to have to maybe learn or adjust to, as opposed to more of a spread kind of
Yeah,
attacking
and
zone?
I remember I texted Devin when he announced he was going there, and I think at the time there was rumors that Kentucky was getting. You'll have to remind me the name, the guy from the Rams,
Yeah,
and
Cohen. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I thought that was great for him to get to the next level, to play in an offense where he's using NFL terminology and running NFL concepts. I think that's really important for college quarterbacks to transition to the next level. And along those same lines, when I think of Rams and I think of quarterback, I think of Matt Stafford, obviously, and Devin. I'm not saying he's Matt Stafford, but he has some similar traits where it's that gunslinger mentality. He's not the tallest guy in the world. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", and that's Stafford's probably 6'2", 6'3" at best. Move around a little in the pocket, but that's not really what they're going to do. So I think it's similar, and I think to your original question of what he's going to have to learn. I saw the offense that they ran at NC State, and there were some NFL concepts, but I wouldn't say everything was that way. I'd be curious how advanced of an NFL offense they're going to be running. West Coast offense, Sean McVay, that stuff could be very wordy and very long, and that's a lot on a college quarterback. So is he going to kind of dumb that down, run more of a vanilla offense of that? And that's kind of what my offense was at NC State. We had a guy named Dana Bible who had a West Coast background, but we ran like a basic version of that West Coast offense where the play calls weren't forever long. I mean, you guys have probably seen some of it. I played for John Gruden, who's part of that system, Kyle Shanahan, all these guys. I mean, you could be, if you guys watched the quarterback, the Netflix documentary, I don't know if you guys watched it, but they went on a thing, and that Vikings offense was Kevin O'Connell, who had just came from the Rams. So I imagine, I don't think he's calling the plays as long as what Kirk Cousins was practicing in that documentary. But if so, that's a lot on a college quarterback. So without having, inside knowledge of what this system is going to be, it's going to be an adjustment for him, but it's going to be great for him. And I know that's part of the reason why he wanted to go to Kentucky.
Well, and to your point about the kind of advanced scheme, I know the offense coordinator, Liam Cohen, said the other day, he almost was better in 2 minute because it was just hurry up, no huddle, go, go. He's used to that. First and second down is more of kind of an adjustment for him. Getting under center, was that something that comes second nature after? Like, do you just rep to get used to going under center? What's that transition like for somebody else?
Yeah, for me, I did it my whole career from high school to college. We ran a lot of stuff under center, so it wasn't a big adjustment for me. But I thought you brought up an interesting point of the hurry up offense, because sometimes when you go that no huddle offense, it's almost like as a quarterback, you don't even have time to think. So you're just playing. And I feel like that's honestly when Devin's at his best, is he's not, standing at the line of scrimmage overthinking things. He's just going out there playing backyard football, slinging the rock, because that's what he does best. So I'm sure they're going to have to kind of find that fine line between, you huddle up, it takes a little bit more time, but that also can be good on a quarterback, or it could be detrimental if he's overthinking. It's almost paralysis by analysis. So that's interesting that you say that at NC State they huddled some, but I do feel like at the most time it was kind of at the line of scrimmage, just looking the sideline and signaling.
Yeah, I get trouble thinking too much all the time too, Mike. It happens.
Going back to his NC State days, Mike, just if you put your scouting hat, your football hat on, and you met somebody on the street and they were wondering about Devin Leary, what would be your pitch to him as a player? What kind of player he is? What would you say to somebody?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, he's got a huge arm. That's the number one thing, is he can throw it. I don't know how far, but he's going to have one of the strongest arms in the country. It gets from point A to point B very quickly. And I think as he matured, as he got older, we talk about processing information. I felt like he did a better job just understanding of where to go with the football. When he played kind of young, he came in as this Elite 11 quarterback, always had the big arm, but rightfully so as a redshirt freshman, I believe, is when he first started playing, he struggled a little bit. And it can be a lot on those, when you're first getting adjusted. But as he went on, he really improved in that area. The one thing I feel like last year, this time last year, he was the preseason ACC Player of the Year. And I think he felt like he had to live up to that a little bit. It felt like he was forcing the ball a little bit in the beginning of the season before he got hurt. So I think hopefully now he's kind of been able to reset, and new environment. It's a fresh start, and he can just go back to playing the way he was. And that's just taking what the defense gives him, and when it's there, let it rip. Because like I said, that's what he does best.
And you mentioned that processing information. Like your arm strength, your arm can only get so strong. Touches seems like, from my point of view, like seems like maybe a feel thing. But processing, is that something you can get better at just with year over year, or is that something you just kind of have to have or born with?
I think there's a little bit of both. I think some of it is, you have to be intelligent enough to play the position. That's why, the quarterback position is probably the most valuable position in all sport, because there's the physical side and there's the mental side that there's probably no other position in any sport that has as much on their plate to go through the pre-snap routine of dissecting coverage, front, blitz, protections, hots, where everything. I mean, there's just so much that goes on in a split second. But I think the number one way you get better at processing information is experience and reps. And Devin is going on his 6th year in college. So he's been around. He's had live bullets. It's not like these are just practice reps. Has a lot of game experience. 2 years ago, he broke all of Philip Rivers' records at NC State for a single season. I mean, this guy's played a lot of football. So the more you're out there doing it, the more comfortable you get, the more the game begins to slow down mentally. And I think Devin's clearly, past that stage in his career where, things have slowed down. He's been there now for 2 years. It's just a matter of getting back to going to the right place with the ball at the right time and not trying to do too much, because his arm talent alone is enough to win a lot of football games.
Well, Mike, we appreciate you taking this time with us. This has been awesome. I know you're dipping your toes in the media biz. I think you got a future here. I don't know a whole lot, but you sound like you know what you're talking about. And we appreciate you giving this perspective. You mentioned that you did work out quite a bit in Raleigh when Devin was there. When y'all were throwing with guys, was there like competitions? How did that go down? I'm sure young guys trying to beat NFL guys. So what were those like?
You'll have to ask Devin. I mean, to me, I was just trying to get my work in. Maybe he was trying to size me up and show that he had a better arm than the current NFL quarterback at the time. I don't know. To me, it wasn't about that. I always enjoy doing that. I used to, like I said, throughout the years, I got to know Jacoby Brissett, who came after me, and Ryan Finley, Devin, and I would always go back and throw with them. And it's fun for me to get to know them as a person as well, and kind of see the skill set that they have. Because, as I mentioned, Devin came in with a lot of hype, and right away you could tell, what got him there, and that's the arm. So last year, I really kind of dove in deep into the film and started watching more of it, because when I was playing, it was kind of, you'd watch it on TV, but you didn't really realize it. Then last year, I went back and really studied the actual tape. And I was like, I remember talking to Thayer Thomas, one of the receivers at NC State. I was like, I knew Devin had a good arm. I didn't realize it was this good. I mean, there are some throws, like I said, from point A to point B, it gets there so fast, and there are far throws the way he can throw far down the field, or he can throw those deep out comebacks. And I mean, it's not like he's having to float it to get it there. It's getting there in a hurry. And I've been around a lot of guys in the NFL with strong arms. And I mean, I'm not trying to put pressure on him, but he has that kind of arm talent to get to the next level.
Wow. Awesome stuff, Mike. Before you go, I've got to ask one NFL question, or I guess it's not even an NFL question, but you play in a lot of cool stadiums. Is there – which one's the coolest, right? Yeah. Like we see all these ones on TV. Yeah. Which one is the one you walk into and really are blown away by?
Honestly, I think it's a good question. And the number one place that pops in my mind for whatever reason is Minnesota. And I think that's because it's a combination of the stadium and the atmosphere. So it's a relatively new stadium. You're inside. I mean, I remember one year when I was in Chicago, we played there the last week of the season. It was literally like -18 outside, and you get inside and it's warm, but it's got a really cool thing. And then when they do the whole skull thing, before, it is awesome. Other favorite places would be Seattle's great. I mean, those fans are rowdy. The Saints, it's a Mardi Gras party. I mean, it's people dressed in costumes. That's great. Lambeau is historic. You feel the tradition, the history when you walk in. I'm trying to think of others. The new LA stadium, and that's not, the atmosphere isn't great, but it's just an unbelievable stadium. It's so state of the art. It's just, they did a really good job there. So every stadium's kind of got its unique features to it. Some are definitely better atmospheres than others. There's not many atmospheres in the NFL that are like a college atmosphere, which is kind of disappointing. The one place that kind of is, I'll say, is Kansas City. Buffalo kind of gives that vibe too, and that they're like tailgating before the game. The fans are into it, where a lot of times it's, you don't really see anyone tailgating. They just kind of show up for the game right before the game starts, or even late in Atlanta. Fans don't show up on time, and then they just kind of
traffic
get loud on third down, and that's kind of the extent of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is it just like an intensity thing? You think like that's the difference? Like, just more.
I just think the passion. It's it's not quite the same. You didn't go to this school, or you might have grown up a fan of it, but I think there's just more of an allegiance to your school, your university, right, if you went there, and there's passion behind that. I think that's the beauty of college sports, and all that's going on right now with this conference realignment stuff is I think that's the best part of college football is the fans' passion behind it is different than the NFL.
So do you have a top college football atmosphere?
Top college, I would say. So my brother played at Virginia Tech, so I feel like I'm a little biased to them.
Ooh,
But in my
yeah.
opinion, that's the best atmosphere in the ACC. Clemson's great. I would still give the edge to Virginia Tech. And honestly, the one underrated one that I had so many teammates come up to me about is NC State. NC State is a great environment. It's just that it only holds, I think, 57, 58,000. So it's not quite as big as the other ones, but is a rowdy place and with passionate fans.
Well, and then 57,000, they pack in like sardines,
Yeah,
everybody wants to be there. Gets rowdy.
exactly.
That's very relatable. That's how we
Yeah.
are, Kroger Field and Lexington. Well, Mike, this has been awesome. I appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. If you ever got any more quarterback takes, we're all ears.
The DMs are open, Mike. If you ever need to share some takes with us.
And we're looking forward to seeing you probably on TV sometime in the near future.
Yeah, sounds good. I hope Devin has a great year. He's a great kid, so Kentucky fans should be excited to have him there.